So in my view, the priorities for core Bitcoin are first, stability and scalability. So just making sure the system keeps chugging away, processing transactions, even though we're getting, hundreds of thousands of new people joining, downloading the client, trying to connect to the network every month. That's my number one priority, is just to try to keep it stable and keep it scaling up. The second is security. So when I talk about security, I mean both security of the core system and kind of security for everybody's wallets is second priority. The third is bugs, making sure that things are relatively bug-free. And down at the bottom of my list, actually, are usability and new features. Next slide. Now, why that? Well, stability first, because it affects everybody. Who cares if your wallet is secure if you can't spend the money in it, right? I mean, if the Bitcoin network just implodes, the whole thing grinds to a halt. So stability and kind of scalability has to be way near the top of the list. Security second, because trust is crucial. I mean, we've had a lot of incidents in the last few months that have really shaken trust for a lot of people. Core Bitcoin has remained trustworthy, and I'm actually really pleased at that. I mean, the core kind of payment system network has continued to chug along. I had lunch a couple of days ago with somebody who asked, well, who runs the Bitcoin network? Because they're from the Visa credit card processing industry where there are fleets of people. And really it is quite amazing that we have this bottom-up network where there is nobody running the network. It's all of the miners, it's all of the merchants, it's all of the geeks all over the world who are just coming together and cooperating, and it works. Bugs I put third, because buggy software is usually unstable and insecure. So fixing bugs is extremely high priority. And features and usability last, because easy to use but insecure software is a really bad idea. So I think part of what we've seen over the last few months is maybe people spending too much time on making their software easy to use and not enough time making sure that it's really secure in the back end. I get a lot of pressure to kind of add features or make things more usable. And people ask me, don't you care about end users? And I mean, I do care about end users, but I don't particularly care a lot about people who download the Bitcoin software and then run it and then complain that it looks ugly. Really, because I believe that the desktop is dying, that the whole model of downloading software onto your desktop computer and then running it is just over. I think it's all going to be mobile devices and websites. And so if you kind of track the things I've been working on, I've been concentrating on features that make it easier for merchants. I will be concentrating on features that make it possible to run Bitcoin on interesting devices and do it in a secure, scalable way. Don't I care about miners? Well, really, no. Quite frankly, I mean, mining is a zero-sum game, right? So if we make it easier for more miners to start trying to generate Bitcoins, that really doesn't do a whole lot for the system. So unless it affects the stability or scalability of the system, I don't really spend a whole lot of time thinking about supporting mining pools or making it easier for individual miners to make Bitcoins. It just it's not on my priority list. Closer? Ooh, that is loud. So I want to go for where are we at? What's the status? The network is a little shaky right now. There were some problems we had scaling up. We filled up our IRC channel that nodes use to connect to each other. We've got a hack-in that kind of split people up into different IRC channels. Jeff did some great work on seeding via different mechanisms so people can connect to each other easily. So that's kind of solved the short-term problems. Finding other computers that are actually listening for Bitcoin connections, that's been a little bit of an issue. And we've done a couple things enabling universal plug-and-play so people's ports on their routers are opened by default. You can turn it off if you don't like that. But one critical need that I really hope somebody steps up to fill is kind of a network health monitor. So somebody who, daily or weekly is looking at, I see Andrew nodding. He might have volunteered, cool. But somebody who just keeps track of, do we have islands of peers that are not connected? Is it taking a long time for transactions to travel from one part of the network to another? All those other sorts of things that I really want somebody to take charge of figuring out how to measure and keeping track of it over time so that if bad things start happening, we can react to it and figure out why. Core security so far has been really good. Satoshi did a fantastic job. There's been more scrutiny. I know Jacob Applebaum of the Tor project had a tweet a while ago where he said, expect to see a bunch of interesting news surrounding Bitcoin. That tweet was because he knew that there are a couple of really good security researchers who are going to take a hard look at Bitcoin. The good news is they didn't find anything. So there have been, I was actually contacted by them and talked through a couple of the features of the system, but so far so good. Dan Kaminsky did a talk at Black Hat where he talked about Bitcoin. He actually contacted me a little bit beforehand because he thought he might have found a vulnerability. Turned out not so much. So, and he told me that was the 8th vulnerability he thought he had found. It turned out not to be a vulnerability because something in the Bitcoin code prevented it from being taken advantage of. So there have been no significant problems found. As far as we can tell, core Bitcoin is secure. I just jinxed myself.